Hi, everybody. I am Sherman D. Manning coming to you live from Los Angeles, California. Peace and blessings be unto you. Once again, I am glad, super excited, glad to be alive and in the land of the living one more time. Listen, Charles Manson. I am author, the only author walking the planet who has sat down without bars between the two of us and talked to this maniacal sociopath. I am the only author. I am also the only author on the planet who has walked and talked with Eric and Lyle Menendez. Trust me, this is not a plus so far as my duties as a writer and my ability to elucidate the evils of these psychopaths. That is a plus. But I don't want anyone to mistake my animation with some sort of endorsement about these guys being good guys or something. You know, like, oh, I met Eric. No, it's not about that at all. Every conversation I had with that bastard was me seeking a way to monopolize on the evils of his mind, on the pathology of his mental apparatus, so that I could find a way to utilize it upon my exoneration from prison in a positive way and talk about it to criminal justice students, professors, and the American people. Yes, I walked and talked with Eric Menendez for about 7 or 9 years, and with his brother Lyle for 2 years. Okay? What I find strange about all of these guys is that they remind me of Donald, the guy running for president. They're all conceited, they're all in love with themselves, they're all extreme narcissists. And narcissism is pathological. You can't break it. You can't break it. And all of them also likewise endorse Donald. I have this on first-hand information. It was told directly to me. And so when there is a common thread between psychopaths who have taken lives, who have murdered people viciously and maliciously, when there is a common thread and striking similarities between those sociopaths and psychopaths and a person who wants to be president, then, ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem. We have a problem. We have a severe problem that needs to be dealt with all deliberate haste. And I can assure you that if you ever meet Donald, you will find out, you will find out that he is very, very similar in attitude and mentality, in his social skills and his way of socializing with others. He's very similar to Eric Menendez. I could break it down and talk about it 3 or 4 hours and not even repeat myself if I wanted to. If I really wanted to elaborate with you on the mentality of the Menendez brothers in comparison or juxtaposed against the mentality of Donald. It's fascinating, to be quite frank with you. And if we weren't talking about life and death situations that have resulted in bloodshed, it would be almost funny. Charles Manson is one of the most complex, manipulative, maniacal psychopaths to have ever breathed on God's green earth. And when I tell you that he has social skills that are very similar to Donald's, that is not embellishment, nor is it humorous. This is literal. He has similar, very similar social skills to that and those of your buddy Donald. You know, the Donald who raped his ex-wife, the Donald who is a pedophile. Do you know anyone who's not registered to vote? Take them, help them get registered. Do you know anybody who's in prison, perhaps for a crime that they did not commit? Wrongful convictions are epidemic in this country. Pray for them. Help them. If you can send them some money, send them some. If you can help them find counsel, help them to do so. Because wrongful convictions, I'm a living witness, happen every day in this country. I have indicated to you on a number of occasions that the rich get richer, but the poor get prison. Amen? And we need to do something about that in this country. Think Ethan Couch. Think O.J. Simpson in 1995. And I could go on with examples of folk who were rich, who committed heinous crimes and did no time. And on the contrary, guys who had some crack and went to prison for 20 years. 20 years because a guy's a drug addict. And we're not talking about drug kingpins here, because we could argue and perhaps we could debate about what the sentence should be for those who are peddling drugs and doing so on a large scale across this country. We could debate that. But what about the addicts? What about the person who have severe drug addictions? What should we do about them? If your suggestion is that we just lock them up, then my question is, why don't you just take them home with you and feed them and clothe them? Because you're taking care of them in prison. Please understand that. Every time we lock a person up and put them in prison, we've just agreed to take care of them. 3 hots in a cot actually is 2 hots, 1 cold. So I want to get rid of that myth right there, because people say 3 hots in a cot. In every prison in this country almost now you get 2 hot meals, and they're terrible of course, but they do sustain you, and you get 1 cold meal. And that's normally peanut butter and jelly. I told someone the other day that if you bring me a jar of peanut butter and jelly, I'll probably go back to jail. I don't want to see it. Top ramen soups. I ate so many of them that I don't want to see them. Bring me a case of top ramen soups, and you might see a non-violent guy go ballistic. I never want to see one again, ever in life. I am top ramened out. Nevertheless, when we send guys, I digress, to prison, you have agreed to house them, clothe them, secure them, and allow them to live in your house because you own the prison for however long that sentence is. And so we do know that we do know that there are things we can do to prevent drug abuse. We do know that there are things we can do to treat drug abuse. And in most instances, these things do not transpire inside of a prison. So my question is, should we not reconsider how we punish those who have drug addictions? Ladies and gentlemen, when we send these drug addicts to prison, guess who they're housed with? They're housed with sociopaths and psychopaths. They're housed with the Lyles, the Erics, the Mansons of life. And what I have learned experientially is that association certainly brings about assimilation. And that when you lock a man up in prison and house him with violent and vicious thugs, what happens is the thuggery rubs off on him. And so once you've had a guy in jail for 5 years, and although he went there perhaps on a nonviolent drug offense, there's something about residing amongst sociopaths and psychopaths that rubs off on them. It rubs off. And that is a problem. Now, I hear somebody talking about the Republican Party right now. I'm passing by a street corner here, and I hear guys discussing the Republican Party. So I'm stepping over this way to get a bar, as they say, of what it is they're saying.
No more tax breaks for them ass whites.
And so he said, no more tax breaks for those butt wipes. And there you have it. I was going to interview the guy, but quite frankly, he did not look too approachable. And it seems like the Republicans have him extremely upset right now. Yeah, we have to do something about prisons. Because, as I've said, when you lock a man up in prison, and he's there for crack or crystal meth or speed or whatever he's there for, and it's not a vicious crime, he hadn't killed anybody, he hadn't raped anybody, he hadn't molested anybody like Trump has, like Donald has. When you lock a guy up in prison and you put him amongst molesters and rapists and killers, etc., what happens is their violent nature rubs off on him. And before you know it, we have made a monster. Read my book, Creating Monsters. Before you know it, we have made a murderer. I know you saw Making a Murderer on Netflix. We make monsters in this country. We make murderers. And we need to stop doing that. And we need to stop doing it now. But you have to think analytically. We have to stop being knee-jerk. And for far too long, that is the way we have run our criminal justice system. It has been total knee-jerk. The minute something happens, we snap. And we just jump. And we just react. We don't respond. I was taught that there is a difference in reaction and respond. Reaction is like reflex. You know, when you go to the doctor, he takes that little hammer and he taps on your knee and your leg jumps. That's reflex. That's reaction. But response, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, response is much different. Response is well thought out. It's planned. It's methodical. It is strategic. It's not just something you do on the fly. And so that is what we need to do. As it relates to the criminal justice system, we have to respond. Talk to me about what's going on in High Desert State Prison right now in California. Talk to me about what's going on in Salinas Valley right now in California. In High Desert State Prison, the guards have gone wild. They've gone wild. They're all gang members. They're members of an organization called the Green Wall. The Green Wall is a thug gang. It's guards who will plant drugs on inmates, beat inmates down, murder inmates, maim them, rape them, hire other inmates to beat them and to rape them. I know this is all strange, but this happens every day in the California prison system. And places like High Desert and Salinas Valley, it happens worse than it does anywhere else in the state. I pray for the guys in High Desert State Prison because no one hears them. No one seems to care about what's going on with them. I care on a human level and on a humane level, but another part of it is a vested interest that I have. It's selfish. I care because I know they're coming out. I care because I know that 90% of the guys in prison will be out of prison. And if we've allowed them to be at high